Welcome to This Explainer. Right, today we are focusing squarely on a truly critical aspect of pharmaceutical quality, Module 8 of the EU GMP Annex 1 training. We're going to be talking about environmental and process monitoring, quality control, and inspection readiness. Now, if you're working in QC microbiology, sterile manufacturing, or quality assurance, you already know the stakes here are incredibly high. Failing a regulatory audit doesn't just mean a temporary shutdown, it can literally mean devastating financial losses, massive product recalls, and most importantly, severe risks to patient safety. We aren't going to spend time today reteaching the absolute basics like cleanroom qualification or barrier technologies. You know that stuff. Instead, we're going to look specifically at how to design a risk-based monitoring program that actually works. We'll dive into the incredibly strict expectations for Grade A environments, how to handle data trending and excursions, and ultimately, how to prepare your sterile facility to stand up to the rigorous scrutiny of a regulatory inspection. Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive into this by establishing our ultimate goal here, proving the state of control and standing behind it at inspection. This is the big mental shift you have to make. It's about moving from just collecting endless amounts of daily contamination control data to having absolute, bulletproof confidence when an inspector walks through your doors. Your data can't just be numbers on a page, right? It needs to be your shield, your absolute proof that your processes are operating exactly as intended. To get there, we're going to follow a 4-step inspection-ready funnel. We'll start with aligning your monitoring with your contamination control strategy, then we'll hit Grade A expectations, move into limits, trends, and excursions, and wrap up with continuous inspection readiness. Starting with Section 1, aligning monitoring with your contamination control strategy. We need to make absolutely sure your monitoring program reflects actual risk. Let's just establish a shared vocabulary first, clearly separating our two primary pillars of monitoring. On one side, we've got viable monitoring. This is the detection of living microorganisms, so your air samples, settle plates, contact plates, and your glove or gown prints. On the other side, we have non-viable monitoring. This is your continuous airborne particle counting, which absolutely must be performed continuously in your Grade A zones during processing. Both are completely vital, but they serve different complementary functions, improving your overall state of control. The old way of doing things is pretty much dismantled under Annex 1. Monitoring locations, methods, and frequencies just can't be generic anymore. You can't just plop a settle plate down where it looks visually balanced or, where it's easiest for an operator to reach. Everything must be explicitly risk-based and derived directly from your contamination control strategy. You need continuous Grade A non-viable monitoring throughout processing, coupled directly with viable monitoring of that critical zone. On top of that, personnel absolutely must be monitored via glove and gown prints as standard practice the moment they exit aseptic work. Every single sampling point needs a solid, defensible, risk-based rationale behind it. So the crucial compliance takeaway here is this. Your day-to-day monitoring is the living, breathing proof of your CCS. If your strategy says a specific intervention is high risk, but you aren't monitoring the environment or the personnel during that exact intervention, well, your strategy is hollow. You have to sample where the risk actually is, not just where it's convenient.
Moving to Section 2, Grade A microbial expectations. We're shifting our focus directly into the critical zone standard.
In a Grade A environment, the microbial expectation is effectively zero recovery. Because we can't mathematically prove absolute zero in biology, your action limit must be set at the lowest measurable level, which is less than 1 CFU, or colony-forming unit. This is an absolute line in the sand for pharmaceutical quality. There is no wiggle room here.
Let's pause and test this regulatory expectation for a second. Think about your own facility's procedures. What is the expected action limit for Grade A microbial monitoring? And before we answer that, think about why we care so much about Grade A monitoring in the first place. Why can't we just rely on quality control and product sterility testing right before we release the batch?
The answer is effectively no recovery, set at less than 1 CFU. You simply cannot rely on end product sterility testing to prove safety. Why? Because that test is massively statistically limited. It only samples a tiny fraction of a batch. A contaminated vial could so easily slip past undetected if we only relied on that final QC test. Therefore, your Grade A environmental monitoring is your true sterility assurance. If a viable microbe slips through, your control is compromised, and that demands immediate investigation. Continuous non-viable particle monitoring gives you real-time evidence of that control, but the moment a viable microbe is detected, you must act decisively. Okay, Section 3, limits, trends, and excursions. We've collected all this data, now let's actually use the numbers to maintain control.
It is absolutely vital to conceptually and procedurally separate your alert limits from your action limits. An alert limit gives you an early warning of drift. Your process is still technically in control, but it's moving in the wrong direction, and that prompts a proactive review. An action limit, however, means you have crossed the line. Control has been breached, and this demands an immediate, formal investigation and a defined corrective action. Defining these limits correctly based on your own facility's capability and your CCS is paramount. Consider this critical regulatory question for a moment. Why is reacting to individual limit breaches just no longer enough? Why does Annex 1 strictly demand your data be trended over time? Take a second to really think about that.
The answer is all about prevention. Trending is your early warning radar. It allows you to spot a gradual drift and intervene while the manufacturing process is still formally in control. If you're only looking at your data point by point, just waiting for an action limit to be breached, you're managing your facility completely reactively. Annex 1 demands proactive control. You need to see the storm forming on the horizon, rather than just reacting once you're soaking wet, and trending is exactly how you achieve that.
But whenever an excursion does happen, it triggers a mandatory regulatory cascade. You don't just note it down on a logbook and move on. Step 1 is acknowledging the excursion, which immediately triggers Step 2, a documented investigation to find the root cause. Crucially, Step 3 is a product impact assessment, asking how does this excursion actually affect the batches manufactured during this period? And finally, Step 4, implementing a corrective and preventive action, or CAPA, to ensure it never happens again.
Now here's a massive trap a lot of facilities fall into. An excursion that is investigated but not trended misses the point entirely. If you investigate isolated excursions perfectly, but you never feed those outcomes back into your broader trend analysis and your periodic CCS review, you're just treating symptoms, not the underlying disease. You have to weave those individual data points back into the larger, ongoing story of your facility's health. Let's look at Section 4, Continuous Inspection Readiness. This is all about standing firmly behind your sterility assurance when the auditor finally arrives. Here is a highly practical checklist of the specific areas an inspector will probe to test the integrity of your operation. They will absolutely expect documented evidence that your contamination control strategy is actively applied and working. They'll heavily scrutinize your media fill design and results, your pub-sit rationale, meaning your pre-use, post-sterilization integrity testing, as well as your gowning qualifications, and of course, your environmental monitoring trends. They're specifically hunting for weaknesses in your armor.
The inspectors are going to cross-reference your systems. They'll ask, do your investigations, your CAPAs, and your change controls logically connect back to your contamination control strategy? A facility that inspects well is one that truly knows its data. It can tell a coherent, interconnected story. If you've got an adverse environmental trend, the inspector wants to see that it triggered a CAPA, and that CAPA ultimately resulted in a meaningful update to your contamination control strategy. The vital compliance takeaway here is this. You literally cannot retrofit compliance the week before an audit. You can't just suddenly start frantically drawing lines between your CAPAs and your CCS when the inspector announces their visit. Your readiness must be a continuous, daily reality. Your documents have to be coherent and current at all times. So, to summarize Module 8, proving a state of control really comes down to a few key pillars. First, your monitoring must be risk-based and derived directly from your CCS, no more generic templates. Second, you absolutely must enforce a zero-tolerance policy in Grade A, effectively less than 1 CFU. Third, rigorous trending is essential to prevent a loss of control before it happens, especially given the strict statistical limitations of final product testing. And finally, true inspection readiness relies on an actively managed, continuously applied contamination control strategy. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to take back to your teams. Look at your own environmental monitoring programs and your inspection readiness. Honestly ask yourself, is your facility telling a coherent contamination control story, or are you simply reacting to noise? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep your data connected, keep your strategy alive, and I'll see you next time.